2,000 meters below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, there is no light. None. Sunlight gave up more than a kilometer above. Down here, the pressure is over 200 times what your body feels right now. The temperature hovers just above freezing. No human has ever swum here, without a machine wrapped around them like armor. And yet, something is hunting here. It is 15 meters long. It weighs more than 40 tons. It hasn't taken a breath in almost an hour, and it is screaming, firing off pulses of sound so violent they are the loudest noises produced by any living creature on this planet. Sounds it uses not to communicate, but to see. It sees with sound. It sleeps standing up, hanging motionless in the water column like a monolith. It carries the largest brain that has ever existed in the 4 billion year history of life on Earth. And in the last 2 years, scientists have discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about it. This creature appears to have an alphabet, not a metaphorical one, a real structured combinatorial system of sounds, one that researchers are now trying to decode with artificial intelligence. This is the sperm whale. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why many scientists quietly admit the same unsettling thing. If you wanted to design an alien intelligence and hide it on Earth, it would look a lot like this. Stay with me, because the deeper we go, the stranger this gets. Let's start with what this thing actually is, because almost everything you think you know about it is wrong. The sperm whale, Physeter macrocephalus, is the largest toothed predator on Earth. Not the largest whale. The blue whale takes that crown, but the blue whale is a filter. Feeder, a gentle giant straining tiny krill through baleen plates. The sperm whale is something else entirely. It is a hunter. Adult females typically reach around 12 meters and roughly 15 tons, but the big males, they can stretch past 16 meters and, by some estimates, weigh in excess of 40 tons. That's the mass of a fully loaded semi-truck, with teeth. Cone-shaped teeth up to 20 centimeters long, lining a narrow lower jaw built for snatching slippery prey in total darkness. But here's the first strange detail. Look at its head. A full 1/3 of a sperm whale's entire body is head. A massive, squared-off, blunt battering ram of a skull that looks less like an animal and more like a submarine that grew skin. Herman Melville built an entire novel around it. Whalers feared it, and for centuries nobody could answer a simple question. What is all that head for? Because here's the thing. Most of it isn't brain. Most of it isn't even bone. Inside that enormous forehead sit 2 gigantic oil-filled structures. The spermaceti organ, and below it, a compartment whalers crudely nicknamed the junk. Together they can make up as much as a quarter of the animal's entire body mass. The spermaceti organ alone can hold well over 1,000 liters of a strange, waxy, milky white oil. That oil, by the way, is why the whale has such an awkward name. 18th century whalers cut open that forehead, saw the white fluid, and assumed, wrongly, that it was something reproductive. Well, the name stuck. Science moved on. The embarrassment remains. So what is that giant tank of oil actually doing? Hold that question, because the answer is the key to everything in this video, and it's far stranger than any sailor's story. But first, we need to kill some time. With a sonic death ray. Some of it is exaggeration, some of it is Hollywood, and some of it, this is the uncomfortable part, is true, just not in the as prey. Divers in places like Dominica and the Azores swim near these animals under regulated conditions, and the whales are overwhelmingly tolerant, often curious, sometimes indifferent, occasionally even gentle. Their diet is squid, deep-sea fish, octopus, sometimes sharks. Humans simply aren't on the menu. But, and here's the honest counterweight, sperm whales have destroyed ships. That part is documented history, not legend. In 1820, the American whale ship Essex was rammed twice by a large sperm whale in the middle of the Pacific and sank, stranding its crew in open ocean in one of the most horrifying survival stories ever recorded. That event helped inspire Moby Dick. And in 2016, researchers published a biomechanical study in a peer-reviewed journal arguing that the architecture of the sperm whale's forehead could plausibly function as a ramming weapon, that its internal structure may actually protect the whale's skull during head-on impacts. To be clear, this ramming hypothesis is still debated among scientists, and such attacks were responses to being hunted, harpooned, and killed. The whale wasn't a monster. It was defending itself. With a battering ram, evolution may have spent millions of years perfecting. Myth number 2, the sperm whale kills prey with a sonic blast. This one is everywhere online. The sperm whale's click can vibrate a human to death. It stuns squid with sound before eating them. Here's the truth, and it's messier than the myth. Yes, sperm whale clicks are staggeringly loud. Measurements place their echolocation clicks at around 230 decibels underwater. Some published studies report source levels even higher. That makes them, by source level, the loudest sounds produced by any known animal on Earth. But 3 honest caveats. Because this channel doesn't do propaganda. First, underwater decibels and in-air decibels are not the same scale. Sound behaves differently in water, and the reference pressures are different, so directly comparing a 230 decibel whale click to a 140 decibel jet engine is scientifically sloppy. The click is still monstrously powerful, but the viral comparisons overstate it. Second, each click lasts only about 100 microseconds. That's a 10,000th of a second. It's not a sustained roar, it's a gunshot of sound, brief, focused, and directional, like a flashlight beam of pure pressure. Third, and this is the big one, the acoustic stun gun idea remains an unproven hypothesis. Researchers have proposed that close-range clicks might debilitate prey, and the possibility hasn't been fully ruled out. But when scientists actually tagged hunting whales and analyzed their click patterns, the evidence pointed a different way. The extreme loudness seems to serve detection range, not lethality. A louder click means the whale can find squid from farther away in an ocean. What a blackness. Tagged whales produce slow, regular clicks while searching, then rapid-fire buzzes only in the final instant before capture. The signature of a precision guidance system, not a weapon. So no, the sperm whale probably isn't melting squid with a death ray. What it's actually doing is far more alien. It is seeing with sound. And to understand how, we have to open up that gigantic head. Imagine you're an engineer. Your assignment, design a sensor system that can locate a soft-bodied, fast-moving target the size of a person in absolute darkness from hundreds of meters away, while withstanding pressure that would crush a submarine hull from World War II. Evolution already solved it. Here's the blueprint. It starts with air. The whale forces air through a structure near its blowhole called the phonic lips, sometimes nicknamed monkey lips, on the right side of its head, that generates an initial pulse of sound. But that raw pulse is just the spark. What happens next is the genius part. The sound travels backward through the spermaceti organ, that 1,000-liter tank of waxy oil, until it hits an air sac lying against the whale's skull. The skull itself is dish-shaped, like a satellite antenna made of bone. The sound reflects off it, bounces back forward, and is channeled down through the junk, which contains a series of acoustic lenses that focus the pulse into a tight, directional beam blasting out of the front of the whale's head. Sound in, reflected, amplified, focused, fired. The whale's forehead is not a battering ram that happens to make noise. It is, functionally, a biological sonar cannon, arguably the most powerful natural sound generation system on the planet. Researchers believe that spermaceti oil may also assist with buoyancy control during deep dives, and the debate over its full set of functions is ongoing. Echolocation, buoyancy, ramming, even acoustic displays for mating competition. Scientists have proposed all of these, and they may not be mutually exclusive. Now the click goes out into the dark. It strikes a squid 200 meters away. A faint echo crawls back. The whale catches that echo, not primarily through its ears as you'd imagine, but through fat-filled channels in its lower jaw that conduct vibration to its inner ears. And from that whisper of reflected pressure, the whale's brain reconstructs an image. Distance, size, texture, movement. In pitch blackness, the sperm whale perceives the ocean around it the way you perceive this screen. Which brings us to that brain. 9 kilograms, roughly 6 times the mass of yours. The largest brain of any creature known to have ever lived. Bigger than any dinosaurs, bigger than the blue whales. And it isn't just big. Sperm whale brains contain spindle neurons, specialized cells that, in humans, are associated with social awareness and emotional processing. Now, an important honesty checkpoint. Brain size alone does not equal intelligence. Much of that neural mass is likely devoted to processing sound and running a 40-ton body. Scientists genuinely debate how to interpret cetacean cognition, and anyone who tells you we've proven sperm whales think like us is overselling the science. But the anatomy alone tells you this is not a simple animal. And then there's the dive. A sperm whale takes a few minutes of breaths at the surface and disappears. It routinely descends 1 to 2 kilometers. Dives have been recorded past 2,000 meters. Typical. Hunting dives last around 45 minutes. The species is believed capable of staying down for up to 90 minutes or more. During descent, its ribcage flexes, its lungs are allowed to collapse, its heart rate plummets, and oxygen-rich blood is shunted toward the brain and core, while its muscles run on their own private oxygen stores bound in myoglobin, the protein so concentrated in deep-diving whales that their muscle tissue turns almost black. At depth, it hunts by sound alone, eating on the order of hundreds of kilograms, up to around a ton of squid and fish per day. Then it surfaces, breathes, and does it again and again for decades, and when it finally needs rest, it does something almost no other animal on Earth does. It stands up. Pods of sperm whales have been photographed hanging vertically in the water column, heads up, completely motionless, in brief. Sleep bouts near the surface, clusters of sleeping giants suspended like a forest of stone pillars. Researchers believe the posture is partly simple. Physics, the oil-filled head is more buoyant than the dense tail, and studies suggest sperm whales may spend only a small fraction of their day sleeping, making them one of the least sleep-dependent mammals ever measured. An animal that sees with sound, dives like a machine, barely, sleeps and dreams, standing up in the dark. Tell me that doesn't sound like something from another world, but we're not done, because the deepest mystery isn't how it hunts. It's what it says. Everything I've told you so far is anatomy and physics. Now let's talk about documented evidence. The case files. Exhibit A, the scarce. Sperm whales are the primary predator of giant squid, animals that can exceed 10 meters with tentacles included. No human has ever filmed a full battle between them. Those fights happen a kilometer down in blackness, but the forensic evidence is overwhelming. Sperm whales routinely surface carrying circular scars, sucker marks, etched into their heads and bodies. Giant squid suckers are ringed with sharp, serrated structures, and they cut deep enough to mark a whale for life. Cut open the stomach of a deceased sperm whale, and you can find hundreds, sometimes thousands, of indigestible squid beaks. Every scarred whale is a crime scene photograph from a war no human has ever witnessed. And there's a bizarre footnote. Those irritating squid beaks are linked to the formation of ambergris, a rare digestive substance. That, once aged, became one of the most valuable materials in perfumery. The whale's battle wounds transformed into treasure. Exhibit B, the ships. We covered the Essex in 1820. It wasn't unique. 19th century whaling records describe other vessels damaged or sunk after ramming by large. Sperm whales and the Essex remains the most thoroughly documented case. Again, these were hunted animals fighting back. But the takeaway stands. This species is one of the very few in history documented to have sunk the ships of the predator hunting it. Exhibit C. And this is where it gets all genuinely strange. The alphabet. Sperm whales don't sing like humpbacks. When they socialize at the surface, they exchange rhythmic patterns of clicks called codas, short bursts, like Morse code tapped into the water. For decades, scientists cataloged a couple dozen coda types and assumed that was roughly the whole vocabulary. Then, machine learning arrived. In May 2024, researchers from Project CETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative, working with MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, published a landmark study in Nature Communications. They analyzed nearly 9,000 coda recordings from Caribbean sperm whale families collected over years by the Dominica Sperm Whale Project, using pattern recognition algorithms and whale-mounted recording tags. What they found stunned the field. Sperm whale codas aren't a couple dozen fixed signals. They're built, combinatorially, from a small set of basic features the researchers described in musical terms: rhythm, tempo, rubato, and ornamentation. Whales vary the timing of clicks, stretch or compress codas, and sometimes add an extra click at the end, which the researchers compared to a suffix in human language. Combining these features produces a huge inventory of distinguishable codas. The team identified more than 150, which they called a sperm whale phonetic alphabet. Let that sink in. Not a fixed set of calls like a dog's bark or a bird's alarm. System. Small parts, freely combined, sensitive to conversational context. That combinatorial structure is one of the foundational properties of human language, and then it got weirder. In November 2025, a Project CETI team, led by linguist Gasper Begush at UC Berkeley, published a follow-up in the journal Open Mind. By analyzing the frequency spectra of codas, and remarkably speeding recordings up toward the pace of human speech, they found that codas carry consistent patterns resembling vowels. Two discrete types, which they labeled A codas and I codas, exchange between whales in structured dialogue. They even found rising and falling frequency patterns within codas, which the team compared to diphthongs, the gliding double vowels in words like soul. A further peer-reviewed paper in early 2026 argued these coda vowels don't just sound like human vowels, They appear to behave like them along several linguistic dimensions. Begish put it in words I can't improve on. What once looked like an alien Morse code system suddenly became much more human-like. Now, the honesty checkpoint, because this is where hype goes to die. Nobody knows what the whales are saying. The researchers themselves state this openly. Lead authors have said plainly that the next step is matching codas to behavior to figure out what, if anything, is being communicated. Outside scientists have raised a fair counterpoint. Structure is not the same as meaning. One bioacoustician, not involved in the work, noted the clicks could function more like music, powerfully affecting emotion without encoding information the way sentences do. And SETI's own founders estimated that decoding may require millions, possibly billions of recorded codas. So no, we have not translated whale. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But here's what we can say, on the record, from peer-reviewed science. The sperm whale possesses a communication system with combinatorial structure, context sensitivity, and vowel-like spectral patterns, a system rich enough that one of the most ambitious AI projects on Earth was founded just to attempt decoding it. And in 2023, the island nation of Dominica announced the world's first marine protected area created specifically for sperm whales, a sanctuary for a species we're only beginning to hear, an animal with an alphabet we can't read, living in a place we can't go. If that's not alien, what is? And now, the turn. Because everything I've told you supports the title of this video, and I'm about to argue against it. Here's the twist. The sperm whale isn't alien at all. It's family. And that might be the most disturbing fact in this entire story. Strip away the sonar cannon and the crushing depths and look at what's actually down there. A mammal, warm-blooded, air-breathing, an animal that carries its child for well over a year. Gestation is estimated around 14 to 16 months. Then nurses it, protects it, and raises it inside a family. And what families they are. Sperm whale. Societies are matriarchal. Stable units of related females and their young that stay together for years, while mature males roam the colder latitudes largely alone, returning to breed. Within these families, researchers have documented behavior that looks unmistakably like cooperative childcare. Because calves can't follow their mothers on hour-long dives into the crush zone, other adults stay near the surface with the young, a babysitting rotation kilometers above the hunting grounds. Scientists studying their codas suspect these click exchanges help coordinate exactly this kind of family logistics, foraging, defense, and childcare. When threatened by orcas, historically by whalers, sperm whales have been observed forming a defensive circle, heads together or heads out, calves sheltered in the middle. Whalers knew this formation and exploited it ruthlessly. Because the whales would not abandon a wounded family member, an entire unit could be taken by wounding just one. Sit with that. The monster's fatal weakness was loyalty. And the culture goes deeper. Decades of research, much of it pioneered by biologist Hal Whitehead and continued by the Dominica Sperm Whale Project's Shane Garrow, indicate that sperm whales belong to vast vocal clans, each marked by its own dialect of codas, passed down socially from generation to generation. Whales appear to identify with their clan the way humans identify with a language. Community. Different clans can share the same waters while maintaining distinct traditions. Many researchers describe this, carefully but seriously, as culture. Behavior transmitted by learning, not genes. So here's the reframe, and it's the heart of this video. We call the sperm whale alien because it's easier than the alternative. The alternative is admitting that a mind, large, social, emotional, possibly linguistic, has been running a parallel civilization of families and dialects in the deep ocean for millions of years. And that when we finally met it, we spent 2 centuries turning it into lamp oil, which brings us to the history we'd rather forget. To understand how strange this animal truly is, you have to rewind 50 million years, because the sperm whale's ancestors walked. The earliest known relatives of whales were small, 4-legged, hoofed mammals, creatures like Pakicetus, discovered in what is now Pakistan, that lived at the water's edge roughly 50 million years ago. Over millions of years, their descendants waded deeper. Legs became flippers. Nostrils migrated to the top of the skull. Ears rebuilt themselves for underwater. Hearing. It remains one of the most complete and astonishing evolutionary transitions in the entire fossil record. A land mammal returning to the sea, its ancestors had crawled out of hundreds of millions of years before. And the sperm whale lineage produced monsters along the way. Around 12 to 13 million years ago, the coasts of Peru were patrolled by Leviathan melvillei, an extinct sperm whale relative with enormous teeth in both jaws, a raptorial superpredator that scientists believe hunted other whales, sharing its ocean with the giant shark megalodon. Today's sperm whale, by comparison, is the quieter descendant, a squid specialist that traded the both-jawed bite for the greatest sonar system nature ever built. For tens of millions of years, nothing in the ocean seriously threatened an adult sperm whale. Then came us. From the 1700s through the 20th century, sperm whales were hunted on an industrial scale, first from sailing ships and rowboats, later from diesel fleets with explosive harpoons. Why? That head. Spermaceti oil burned bright and clean. It lit the street lamps of cities, lubricated the machines of the Industrial Revolution, and later found uses in everything from cosmetics to specialized lubricants. Estimates suggest hundreds of thousands of sperm whales were killed in the time. Historical and modern whaling eras combined, and the global population today, very roughly estimated in the low to mid hundreds of thousands, is believed to remain well below its pre-whaling size. The species is currently listed as vulnerable by the IUCN. Commercial whaling of sperm whales has largely ended, and populations are believed to be slowly recovering. But the modern ocean brings new threats: entanglement in fishing gear, ship strikes, ingested plastic. Sperm whales have washed up with stomachs full of debris, and perhaps most insidiously for an animal that lives through sound, ever-rising ocean noise from shipping, sonar, and seismic exploration. Imagine navigating your world through hearing alone, while someone slowly turns up static on every channel. And here's one final scientific irony. Research in recent years has highlighted that whales, sperm whales included, are ecosystem engineers. Their nutrient-rich waste fertilizes surface waters, feeding the phytoplankton that produce a significant share of Earth's oxygen and lock away carbon. The monster of the deep is, in a measurable way, part of the machinery keeping this planet breathable. We hunted the ocean's greatest mine for lamp oil. It was helping us breathe the whole time. So, why does the ocean's most terrifying behemoth operate more like an alien than an animal? Because every specification reads like science fiction. A predator that perceives reality through self-generated sound. A forehead that is simultaneously a sonar cannon, a flotation system, and possibly a battering ram. A body that shuts down its own lungs to visit depths that crush steel. Sleep taken standing up, in minutes, in the dark. The largest brain in the history of life. An alphabet built from clicks with vowels that humanity is now aiming artificial intelligence at, just to attempt a translation. And yet the real answer to the title is stranger than alien. The sperm whale is what intelligence looks like when it evolves in a world without hands, without fire, without walls, world of pressure and darkness, where the only tools that matter are sound, memory, and family. It's not alien because it's unlike us. It's alien because it took everything we recognize, society, communication, culture, loyalty, and built it in a place we cannot follow, somewhere. Right. Now, 2 kilometers down, a 40-ton mind is falling through blackness, painting the world in echoes, on its way to a battle no camera has ever filmed. Later, it will rise, find its family, and speak to them in an alphabet older than every human language combined. We are just beginning to listen. The question, the one Project SETI's researchers are chasing, the one that should keep you up tonight, is simple. When we finally understand what they're saying, what if they've been talking about us?